Let's just go.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm
so
on.
hey Varu, how are you?
I'm good, James. How are you?
Good. You have a lot of screenshots on your desktop there. Looks like mine.
It's because of the nation workflow error handling. I had to take it to ChatGPT and then ask if that was right or not. So yeah, that's the thing.
Okay, awesome. So, burning question on my mind, is it nation or N8n?
I think we can pronounce it whatever works, N8n or nation. I
Yeah.
think it's nation, if I'm not wrong.
I want to say nation, but I keep seeing people say N8n. So I'm like, am I saying this wrong? But seems like a branding opportunity for them to clarify it.
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah. So, okay, like let's dig in here. This is our first sort of like, community showcase, if you will. You've been working on a automation for X. We have basically grown our whole business off of X. We try to publish like super consistently and get high quality stuff out there. And I feel like we've learned a lot lately about sort of what's resonating, what's driving engagement, things of that nature. And I've had a bunch of DMs of people asking me, "Hey, what's your all's workflow for X? How do you guys create this type of content so consistently and stuff like that?" So, we were chatting a few days ago and we were like, hey, let's try to start working with X data and see if we can analyze, what our workflow kind of is behind the scenes, and if we can sort of like crystallize it and figure out a way for us to get input from what's resonating out there for our own content strategy so that we can grow our audience. A couple of the learnings that I think we've noticed that are playing into this. One, the things that really drive success on X in my mind is like embracing new formats. What do you think
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, I think the formats play a vital role. Even the analysis that I did, sort of like if, basically like took Greg's account to basically do the analysis. And when you see there's like a lot of different formats that he's tried, and it's not just like, super consistent. And it's that new formats that brought out some kind of interesting performances also like attached to it per tweet. So I think, yeah, when we look at it, and also the hooks that you constantly say, right, how the hook has to be like structured, and it's not just the hook, the format itself, right, like the entire tweet, how are we formatting it, even if it's like one pager, how are we
Yeah.
going to format it information by information. I
Yep.
think these are key criteria that we need to look at, and that's very evident in the analysis that we've done as well.
Yeah. I think a tweet is kind of like the way I think about a tweet is it's kind of like a value delivery mechanism. And there's certain formats that work at certain periods in order to like effectively communicate that value. And the way that you speak and talk about it and structure that format matters in terms of like how you get attention, build interest and desire and things of that nature. So yeah, I don't think enough people think deeply about how to really do this and do it right. There's a lot of work that kind of goes behind the scenes to do it. So that said, why don't you open up your nation or N8n, let's say nation workflow. And I know that there's a lot here. So let's start from like a 10,000 foot view. What are people looking at here to start? Like, tell us about this area of the tool, the editor screen, and just what's happening broadly here.
Broadly, it's picking up the tweets. Like right now, we are analyzing Greg's set of tweets, and let's say that we are analyzing 100 or 200 recent tweets. We know Twitter works; the algorithm keeps changing, the format keeps changing. So it's very important that we do batch by batch. Let's say like last 100 or 200 tweets and things like that. So we take some of his tweets, and we are basically like trying to analyze the engagement over here. We're trying to analyze what is the kind of categories that he's spoken about in his tweet. What does the format look like? Is it the image? Is he like often going for threads? Is it video? What is the format looking like? And what are the hooks what is he like, the psychology behind the hook? Is it like curiosity? Is it like, the attention that's driving? And what does the tweet structure look like? And how frequently is he like tweeting in a day? So all of this is basically like getting analyzed, and I'm trying to use OpenAI as a mechanism to like take all the the quantitative data or the unstructured data and push that into OpenAI so that OpenAI can give me a flushed out data like, hey, this is the analysis. These are the takeaway from each of the tweets. These are the hook template. This is the tweet structure and things like that. So this is the overview of the N8n, the canvas that you're looking at right now.
Okay, so pick a creator. In this case, we're using Greg Isenberg. I think he's like probably one of the best folks on X, period. He knows the platform better than pretty much anyone I've ever talked to. And uh, taught me everything I know about utilizing X effectively. So we're trying to sort of capture that essence and figure out like what is Greg doing by essentially scraping his tweets as they come in, and then as you said, we need to structure that data a little bit so that OpenAI can look at that data and then give us like actionable, let's say, insights on what's working, what's not, by pairing that up with the engagement data that you're able to get to. Is that fair?
Yes, perfect.
Awesome. Okay. So yeah, tell us what step one is. How do we start here? Like, what's the first thing that you had to do with this workflow?
Yeah, let me just zoom in a bit. So the first thing is that, like you said, we need to scrape the tweets, right? So basically, like we have two ways to go about it. One is that you can choose a creator, or specifically you can go for keywords. When we go with keywords, the biggest problem that we have is that it becomes too broad. Randomly when it comes to tweets, we see a lot of tweets being there. Some can be relevant, some can be irrelevant. So I think going with the creator or the profile per se is ideal because we have the control of, hey, this person is in the niche, or this is someone who has done really well on Twitter. So I think scraping those tweets will be ideal that way. So we've used Apify. Let me just open this and show. So we've used Apify particular API pack over here so that we will be able to, like, with just the URL of the profile, we will be able to scrape the tweet ID, the bookmarks, number of bookmarks, when was it created, how many of them have like liked it, what does the text look like, uh, the language, views, quote tweets, and things like that,
Yeah.
replies, retweets, all of this. And here is where you see the media URL, like whether it is image or video and things like that.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So Apify, correct me if I'm wrong here. Just I want to make sure everybody has all the details about what tools we're using to get this output. So in Aiden, you can build the workflows, you can integrate tools like Apify, you can integrate custom code or whatever, but it doesn't provide a way to like go and scrape someone's tweets like out of the box. So, to get certain information into N8n or Nation, you have to use some other tools. So Apify is basically like a library of all these different sort of like scrapers and ways to get data, for your, I don't know, software product or your workflow or your AI model or whatever. And in this case, we have this like X scraper one that we're kind of starting with.
yeah, and I think we can use multiple ways to do that. One is Apify, the other is Twitter itself provides the API, X API, which is default there. But if you have a paid subscription, you can go for it. Apify in always is much better because it's like an app store where you can get all the APIs. Like you want to scrape Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, or anything, you have the option to choose which one to go for, and it's sort of cost effective. And if someone wants to try this out for free, they also have this Google custom search API. The biggest problem with that will be pagination because since it's free, they'll have to add like 5, 6 more steps. And for it to get that right, it's going to take a lot of time. So Apify by all means is like the best way to go about.
Okay, cool. Was it difficult to set up Apify within an 8-in, or was that pretty straightforward?
It was very straightforward. It was like you have to just go to, do I open it and show it how that works?
Uh, Nah, I think we can just give a overview for people probably or set a bullet points or whatnot. But cool. So you figured out how to do that. And the next thing I see is like 108 items. Like what's that mean? And like once you get the data into the system, what are you doing next?
Yeah. So like I said, I've taken 108 or 110 tweets ideally. And it is very important. One more pro tip that I would like to give while we scrape tweets on Apify is that make sure we are turning off replies and retweets and things like that is turned on, because when we say 100, it can pick up all the replies that we did, and there's a chance that just one tweet, the API call will be like exhausted, right? So it is important we turn that off. So what you see here is that the 108 tweets that have been like picked up recently, uh, the reason is because every time you give test step or the the trigger is set up, it'll take the recent set of tweets that the particular creator has posted. Now, these are the number of tweets I've limited, 100 tweets, and you will be able to see, like I said, these are all like very, you're seeing as a table format. So this is the JSON format. So this is a very unstructured data. If you directly put them in other format, you might not get the exact data that you're looking for. Or if you've noticed, there is no tweet URL, and the image or video URL is all like in one particular row. It is very difficult for us to like get those information in separate columns and things like that. So
Okay.
what we've done is the first thing is get all that and put them in like tweet text, views, bookmarks, like select specific set of data that we want to get added to the Excel. We've added all that over here. Now we
Okay.
don't have set of data like URL. We don't have the specific set of data like this particular tweet has, whether it is an image URL or a video URL. So that's what we are going to do next,
Okay.
which is get the medias right separately. What are the photo URLs? What are the video URLs? Like this tweet does not have a media, but it does have something else. So it basically picks up all of it and gives the data.
Yep.
Now, the other thing is we need to get the URL. So this has to be done in three different ways. Like one, we got the all the data, we got the URLs like media URL separately. Now we are getting the tweet URL separately. So we have this particular code, and this code is generated by ChatGPT again. All that we need to like say is that, hey, we have all this information. We just need to like extract the tweet URL separately. And it will basically give us the JSON code. We can take that, copy paste it, and we might have to change the API key data over here. Other than that, everything is like pretty same.
Okay. Okay. So you figured out how to extract the data, structure the data.
Yeah.
So what do you do after that?
We need to merge it, right? Because we got all the data separately and we need to merge all of that together. So now, so that we'll have tweet text, URL, photo URL, engagement data, and things like that. So we are merging all three together, and we're using a merge node over here. And now once this is merged, so we have is like, hey, there's about 5 likes, there's about 10 likes, there's about 100 tweets and things like that. But we don't know the tweet frequency per day. We don't know the overall engagement rate, and we need to know total number of photos and total number of videos and things like that.
Yep.
Now,
These are like
what
custom calculations that basically you're doing with the data that you've scraped and structured here. So you're adding these additional steps to kind of work with that information in the database and give us further outputs for whatever we do with this information down the line, right?
Exactly. So, in order for us to take it to AI, OpenAI or Gemini or whatever, Perplexity or whatever model we want to like plug in there to analyze that, we just need to do one bit of calculation so that it doesn't just randomly take the data.
Yep. Okay.
So the frequency per day, if you see, it is taken by date. Like on 15, there's one, on 14, 14, 14, 14, 14. So you basically like see the date. This is going to be super helpful for ChatGPT to analyze that number of tweets per day. Is it like on 14, there are about four, on 15, there are about one. So that calculation is done here. Again, the same prompt, we have to like put it across saying that calculate this. I'm looking for tweet frequency per day. So this will give you a custom code that you can add. So this is the engagement rate. The engagement rate is going to be more like what is the engagement score or rate looking like based on. So there's a formula that I've added over here that I wanted to say that number of views divided by replies plus retweets plus favorites and quotes and things like that. So that is going to be the engagement rate. So it gives me the score over here. So based on that, I'm going to merge these two things and you will be able to see the date, the tweet text, the views, bookmarks, favorites. This will be very important because it also gives the time stamp of the tweet getting created,
Yep.
code, and whether it has a photo URL or video URL, it's going to share that as well. The tweet URL, you're going to get the engagement rate, score, and things like that.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Great.
Now we are supposed to add all of this. We've merged it. We are going to take it and add it to the Excel. So this is going to be like, you'll see all of this data getting added over here. Give me a moment. Yeah. Now the next thing that I made a mistake that many of us will actually like make mistake is directly connecting this Excel to this basic LLM chain or open AI model, or they basically like add AI agent over here.
Hmm.
What happens is that if there are about 100 tweets, it's not just the 100 tweets it's going to like look into. It's going to look at the engagement rate. There's about multiple columns and multiple data that is getting added to the Google Sheet. Now we
Yep.
need to loop this so that it actually like process the information like let's say by batch. So what I've done here is process it by 40.
Yep.
So there are about 100, so it is going to process it three times, let's say for example, so
Yep.
that we basically like get this to AI, so the AI can analyze.
Okay. Got it. So just to review that part again, can you tell me again what that why you want to do this in batches? Like just
Yeah,
broadly,
yeah.
why would one want to do that?
So basically, when we take all the 100 to API, OpenAI to review it and analyze it, it's a lot of data for it to like look into. So it takes a lot of tokens. So OpenAI works based on the tokens, right? So let's say in a day you can actually like if you're in the paid plan, you have like 100K tokens that you can use. So when we and sometimes there's a chance that when we are pushing all the 100 tweets at a time along with all the data, it'll take minimum of 30 minutes to 40 minutes for
Got
it to
it.
process. And number two, let's say you're using the fastest model, which is GPT-4 Turbo instead of GPT-5 Turbo, right? It is very slow because it's going to shell out all the structured data for all of the tweets. So you
Okay.
will exhaust your per day quota of tokens, and there's also chance that it is going to like, do all of this slow.
Yeah.
Secondly, what happens is when you get the data, it is not always structured sometimes, so you'll have to like use a code to structure it. So once again, for it to structure, you'll have to rerun the whole thing, which will take another 30 minutes of your time plus more tokens. So I
Okay.
think that's one of the reasons it is always better we add a loop node in between, so we can like the maximum that you can take the loop node is like 50.
Okay.
uh, so if I've taken 40, it still takes time. It takes hardly like 5 to 10 minutes for me for overall loop to get over. But if we go without loop, it's going to take like at least like 30 to 40 minutes.
How did you find out about this like looping process? This seems pretty technical to me, like token utilization and, efficiency and all that stuff. How did you like even discover that you need to be doing that? Was it trial and error? Did you like prompt GPT and it said, "Hey, you should loop this" or something? Like how'd you come about this?
Yeah, I think when I went and said that this is what I'm looking for in a workflow, ChatGPT or Gemini, whatever you're using, it's going to give you a very straightforward workflow. Like, this is what you need to do. But it's like you have to keep prompting it over and over again. I think after trial and error, I realized that I should have used Loop because the quota got over for the day. I sort of had like, processed it more than 6 or 7 times. I was waiting for each run. I was waiting for more than
Yeah.
40 minutes per run and things like that.
Was that when we used up all of our OpenAI tokens in like one day?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how I actually like analyze that, realize that, it's because of this. And
Yep.
later, when I went and asked ChatGPT that why it's taking so much time, why this is, then it gave me two things. One is I need to use loop mode node, and the two is I was using AI agent. So there's a node called AI agent. So it said it is not necessary for you to use the AI agent node at all at this particular, only one function it has to do. So it asked me to like go for basic LLM chains so that the processing is faster, as well as loop, and this will actually like reduce the time of getting the result out.
Okay, got it. All right, so we figured out the looping mechanism there, and now this is kind of like the cool part or the fun part for me is like when we get AI involved in the workflow. So tell me what we have here.
So basically, we need to give as much detailed prompt as possible, right? Like we have all that we need. So what is that we are going to like get in return from the AI is very important. So I think the prompt plays a vital role over here. So now I have a prompt that you're a expert Twitter growth and engagement analysis or something. Based on the following tweets, analyze what works best in terms of the content, format, timing, etc. And it gave me a lot of interesting things, like for example, I need to, in order for it for OpenAI to again work faster, the other best pro tip is that when you say that you want to look at the frequency or date and etc., you just need to like go to this table format and drag and drop this over here so that it becomes easier. It gets context, like which data it has to refer to, which data set it has to refer to get the analysis. Now if you
Yeah,
see the tweet sets over here, this is the overall insight it gave me. Hey, what is the common category? So Greg's tweets often fall under categories like startup growth, personal productivity, entrepreneurship, insights related to marketing and technology that perform well.
yep,
It gave me that what is the engagement level. So this was like top performing category. This
yeah,
is like overall insight, right? Like you also need to know tweet level insight. You also need to know overall insight, which is very
right,
important.
right.
So
And you know, the insight's really where the value is too. I mean, like as a marketer, you know, you can have all kinds of dashboards and data and stuff like that, but it takes time to comb through that and find the patterns and find the insights. So what we're doing is giving a bunch of this data to an LLM and it's finding those insights and patterns for us. So yeah, this is kind of that qualitative piece where it's actually looking at it and looking at the structures and reading the tweets and the content and trying to let us know like, hey, what's going on here and why is it working?
exactly.
Okay,
So
cool.
other things that we see over here, the coolest part is this, right? Like all of this are basically based on the tweets that it has. It gave me what's exactly working, but it
Mm,
gave me some actionable recommendations that what we can focus on. Like if you're someone who wants to be like Greg or who wants to like create tweets around the same niche and things like that. So here are some things that you need to do in terms of content strategy. What do you need to like look at? What are the tweet formats? What is the consistency? What you need to like focus on, all of that is like the actionable recommendation that it gave.
yeah,
So focus on like educational content, like share actionable tips, use frameworks. So if we see over here it will say that
mm,
for a particular set of tweets, for Greg, frameworks has worked really well for him, like infographic has worked really well. So these things will be like super helpful for someone when they want to start something, that these are something that they need to consider for a format for Twitter.
yeah. You know what's interesting here? You know, this tells us what Greg does, and then there's still this like qualitative gap or this like insight step of, okay, how do I make that relevant to me or my niche or my audience? You know, so I think a really interesting next step on this workflow down the line, if people want, would be being able to like merge in our own tweet data and show me the gaps. Like, how can I improve? Like, you know, this specific tweet or what's a hook or what's a format or whatever I should be utilizing. It could almost like repurpose or restructure. your tweets automatically based on whatever it's learning from the creator that you're using for inspiration. That's a huge payoff for a workflow in my mind.
I swear, I think it's just one node away, right? Like all that I need to like add is like another node over here.
Yep.
Like from the same this thing, from the same output that I get, I add another node and then like say that, hey, these are the tweets analysis, or if you want directly from here, say that I want to like these are the set of tweets that I have. Can you like identify gaps or something? It's
Yeah.
pretty easy for us to like
Yeah.
get the gaps like the next step.
And one of the things that we've talked a lot about is like, and we've talked about this on X and stuff like that, but you have to have the right logic for your workflows, So like thinking through the logic here is such an important step. I think it's missed by a lot of people, but like once you
Yeah.
figure out the logic here for X, I mean, this is extensible to other platforms and other channels and other use cases, right? Like let's say we wanted to learn, hey, how the heck is Greg growing so fast on YouTube right now? And we just started a YouTube channel. So what can we learn and how can we package up our content in that manner? Like the packaging is so key for like content success and audience growth. So being able to identify those gaps, not just on X, but across channels too, would be super, super valuable, I think.
It is very much possible in the same workflow. All that they have to like do is like what we scraped Twitter as like the first step. The next thing from the trigger is they can scrape from YouTube of Greg. They can scrape from LinkedIn of Greg. They can scrape from multiple platforms and like build a whole package. The steps are pretty much the same, right? Like Twitter
Yeah,
has different engagement data. This has different engagement data. All that you need to like do is the steps are like pretty much the logic is pretty much the same.
yeah.
The end is even this like the how we are going to merge it, how we are going to get the AI to do what is the prompt that we are going to do will be the key part over here.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Okay, so we're adding the AI model and it's able to give us, these insights. What's after that?
The other thing is that we also need to do tweet by tweet analysis, right? Like, for instance, yeah, that's an overall insight. That's great. But what patterns can we identify from each of the tweet? Like, for example, what is the takeaway from this particular tweet? Like, what are the top three takeaways that I can take? And what does the hook look like? What does the hook template look like? What does the tweet structure look like? And what is the average engagement percentage? What is the category of each of the tweet? And from there you can still like build a analysis that whether startup growth is like number of tweets are like high, or in startup growth if the number of tweets is high, what is the average engagement looks like over there, so that it also gives some user who's starting new or even for us that what content pillars that we need to focus on. I think that's the most crucial step before we even start writing a tweet, right? So
Yep.
that is the next step that it is going to do. So I've also like created another branch from the loop apart from this, because I'm calling this as like a qualitative overall insight AI branch, because you can only have one prompt. If you're going to add another set of prompt, problem will be like that is an overall insight and this is tweet level. So you would not get matching data that you're looking for.
Okay. Okay. I see. Can you show us exactly what you mean here with an example?
Yep. So now I have all the data from the previous node, the Excel sheet, right? Like now all I'm looking for is what is the category of each of the tweet I need to know.
Okay.
What is the
Okay.
engagement percentage per tweet that I need to know? I have a formula set up here. Um, what is the performance rating? So based on the engagement rate, do you call it like high performing or average performing or low performing and things like that?
Yeah.
Um, so what are the takeaways? If it is for a new user, what takeaway do I have to like give from each of the tweet? Like share three insights.
Yep.
What worked, what did not work from here? What is the
You're
hook analysis?
essentially you're enriching every single tweet with metadata.
Exactly.
Essentially that once you have that metadata attached to each and every tweet, you can then do a lot with that in terms of visualization and pulling insights that you can quickly gather and stuff too, right? Like, hey, group the tweets together that talk about startup growth and have an engagement rate above 5%. Things like that. Once that data is enriched, it then extends your ability to get useful insights.
Exactly. And in fact, the same workflow itself you can add another AI node and then say that, can you like create a tweet like this? Like, like this is a hook template. This is the category
Mhm.
that I want to play with. Can you like create a tweet like this and give that what you want to cover in this? And, you can add additionally, and it's not just the analysis. You will also be able to like flush out some tweets from here.
Cool. Okay, awesome. What's next?
So the next thing is again, when it comes to the AI node, we will have unstructured data. It's a JSON data that it's going to give you out. Sometimes it will have a parsed JSON data. So you'll have to basically like structure it again. So I've added like a code node here. Again,
Mhm.
ChatGPT is going to like help you out to remove all the inconsistency. So you will be able to see the takeaway, the hook template, the tweet structure, and when it was created, the day of the week, time of the day, and things like that. It's morning, afternoon, mid evening, and things like that. So
Yep.
now this will be getting added to Google Sheet. But before that, one more thing that we need to add so that the entire workflow is complete is this if node. So we are connecting the end of this Excel sheet, the qualitative data to if node, also the end of this, and looping the true back to this Excel sheet, the Excel where we got all the data of tweet,
Yeah.
right? So this is very key because for the loop to get completed, if we are actually like adding this if node, it is going to be helpful for the loop to get completed. So that's why we are adding the if node as well as the loop node to this entire workflow. That's going to help us.
Okay. Cool.
So now I'll show the final Excel, right? Like the review per tweet, like you can
Awesome.
see. So
So
this
if
has
you
the engagement.
go back to like column A. Okay, so this is all the tweets. Um, the URL or the link to the tweet, it looks like that's not in there, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So the next column, if you go up, so we can see the menu on column C, this would be the category, the engagement rate, performance rating. Tell me what that means.
So, like I said, based on the engagement percent per the tweet, it's going to say whether it is high performing. And when I also prompted saying that when you say high performing, you need to say that why it is high performing. So it says that like, the tweet effectively challenges a common belief and presents a compelling argument with
Yeah.
strong insights into the industry, which likely resonated with many users. And one of the reason is that obviously it has the data of retweets, replies, and things like that into the calculation. So when you say 30% is the engagement percent and this tweet has in this particular category, why do you feel that it is high performing is the output that we are kind of getting.
Okay, cool.
Here, yeah, please,
Yep.
please go.
Yeah, I was just going to say that that's really helpful if you can kind of take us through each of these in this
Yeah.
sheet, that would be great.
Yeah. So if we see the takeaway also, let's say the tweet is like longer or short or whatever it is. Now we
Yep.
need to know what are the takeaways that this particular tweet has, because this is also going to be helpful when you write a tweet, that what should the takeaway be for the end user. Otherwise, the tweet does not make sense.
Yep.
So it is challenging common beliefs. There's a focus on valuable insights rather than just information. Engage with current trends and technologies to make your content relevant. So this is going to be very generic because I've not asked something like, hey, in this particular thing, what exactly? So again, the specificity of the prompt will give us a better data even when it comes to takeaway or a hook,
Right.
right?
Like if you wanted to expand on that takeaway and make it like relevant to your content or your product or the value proposition that you're focused on, that would help. Hey, what's the takeaway or the payoff that the end user is going to get? Like I can envision where like, let's say you're merging in like the boring marketer account data and you're like, uh, digging into the takeaway a little bit more to, am I saving time? Am I helping people save money? Am I helping them be more efficient? How do I categorize those levers? And then like which takeaways are actually like providing a high engagement rate and stuff. So that's kind of interesting.
Yep. The
Okay.
other thing that was so cool for me is this hook part. The hook template and tweet structure template will be pretty much the same based on like, what sort of things that they are adding. But here, if you see, hook creates curiosity by contradicting a widely held perception, which is DeepSeek has just proved the worthless GPT wrapper startups are actually the ones with real moats. So it takes the first line of the tweet and it says why this is a great hook or something. If we
Yep.
see here again, interesting historical perspective generating curiosity about how this relates to the present. So
Yep.
ideally, it takes the first line and says what this is all about. So it gives an idea that I want to implement something like this. So you don't
Yeah.
have to like worry about the hook.
Yeah. If people could just write better hooks on X, their growth and success there would like 5x overnight, like I think that that's like the one of the biggest learnings we've had is like, having that super strong hook on a post is so clutch. And I think that extends into other channels and things like that too. You think about ad creative, you need that strong hook, like giving people a reason why they need to pay attention. You need to grab their attention so that they can engage with the content. So just that alone to me is like, worth this entire workflow is identifying good hooks. Um, that in and of itself is super valuable.
Yeah. The other thing also is the thread. I mean, like whether it's a thread, whether it's a single tweet, whether so that's the format, right? Like let's say structure
Yeah.
allows for deep dive into complex topic, keeping readers engaged through multiple points. So it says that and it says there's a hook, there's a problem statement, there's a personal experience, there's a resolution. So this is
Yep.
how entire tweet is structured. Someone wants to write a tweet, like write a thread, they will know what Greg has done and they can actually like simply duplicate it and then like go about it.
Yeah. What's crazy about like how Greg does this too is that he has just kind of internalized this, he just knows how to do this like so instinctively well after how many reps? I think he's has over 50,000 tweets on his account or something like that. When I looked the other day, I don't quote me on that, but like just the reps of going through this so many times, he's internalized and learned it, where it's just second nature and instinct to him when he
Yeah.
writes or creates something, which I think that's so cool. That he's been able to do that. Like he's got a problem statement, a personal experience, and a resolution. These are things we know as marketers that we need to have in our content or in our ads or whatever. But Greg just does this, which I think is pretty incredible. And like he's the best, one of the best in the world at this. So just being able to see and kind of validate that these are the things he's doing is super cool.
Yeah, and in fact, you remember the challenge that I faced when I started out Twitter, right?
Yep.
I think many of the challenges were answered basically because of certain tweets that Greg has shared.
Yeah.
And you know, when someone like me, who I wouldn't call myself like I know Twitter so much, but to some extent, if I have understood how this Twitter works, I think I have to like credit it to Greg's tweets. And one of the reasons why, we took his tweets is because it's easy for us to like break it down and it's easy for us to like duplicate it and take this thing forward.
Yeah, I think that's also a good sort of like topic or transition is like um how does this workflow or how will this workflow help you, in your day-to-day role, for example? So just to give people some context, Varu is basically like our growth manager at Boring Marketing. So she helps me with all kinds of stuff, like getting our community launch, working on our emails, like thinking through our growth strategy, helping with content research and things of that nature. So, that's a very manual kind of like process. You have to spend a lot of time digging through data to understand the patterns. You have like lists and bookmarks that you're going through and everything. So, how do you envision something like this, like workflows helping you in your day to day? And what kind of unlock is this for you? And how do you think about it in terms of like, the leverage it gives you in your work and stuff? So, just as a fellow marketer, how does this help you?
I think for me, like I said, I'm going to be adding another node for the tweet creation process at this point of time because, like, when we have to create some tweet, the biggest challenge that I have at least is like what you said, hook and the how am I going to structure the entire tweet? It's not just the content pillar because we have it all defined in things. We also have a calendar in place. Now I need to like convert all of this into a tweet in itself, right? So I think I'm going to use this particular workflow for that reason. And let's say that I'm going to add another note saying that help me with this is the hook. This is something that I'm looking at. What will be the like I want a tweet generated from here. I think that's something that I'm going to immediately like take use of
Yep.
the hook template and the tweet structure template based on this tweet. Yeah, that's something that's going to be super useful for me.
Yeah, and I think we'll get to this now, but you also can pipe this data basically into Looker Studio and visualize it and see it. So I know this is kind of an early version like of this, but if you go to the Looker dashboard, I think this is pretty cool just to give people an idea of one, like how can I get, if you look at a workflow in 8n and even a spreadsheet or a database, there's a lot there, So let's say that, you wanted to communicate something to a coworker or a client or a customer or something along those lines. Being able to sort of package up the insights and the data is really cool, and that's what you've done here with Looker Studio.
Yep. So ideally, what exactly is like working? Imagine if it is not Greg or someone who's like in the same space, right? Uh, and especially like whoever is going to set up the workflow, the biggest unlock over here is that what category is like highly being like talked by that person. I think that actually adds insane value in itself, because do I need to like talk about the AI trends? Do I need to like talk about productivity? What are the first five categories I'm going to pick up for my Twitter to basically get going? Right. I
Yep.
think that is going to be like super helpful. Secondly, the biggest unlock is this engagement percent, right? Like I have the category. Now, what particular category is sort of having higher engagement, which means it's another great additional insight that I can have, that I'm going to like take a tweet of this category and also like make sure that see which particular engage like categories and getting more engagement. Let's say AI trends and cryptocurrency. How am I going to like club these both so that the engagement is also insane and I'm
Yeah.
also like able to like build a tweet around it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is frequency, because like you always say, James, I think it's Twitter is a very fast platform, right? You just can't like just post it and expect everything to work on its way on. You have to like go reply. You need to identify people who are doing like really good in that particular niche and things like that. How often are they like retweeting, quoting, identifying something interesting and sharing it out there? I think a very small tweet can actually like do a great job in terms of impression and engagement, right? So how many, if it's like today, how many like tweets do I need to like go and like create? Does it change? Does it like, do I need to like do twice or thrice or something of that sort? So this
Yeah.
is going to like give me that idea so that I can plan my calendar or I can plan my Twitter accordingly.
Yep. Yep. Cool.
The
Okay.
last thing is this, because I have the hook template, all of that like set up here, I can actually like go and then, like, click and then like take use of it or something. But I would prefer it like, with a chat node and take it forward from there.
Yeah, yeah. Looking at this, like kind of early example we've done here gives me a few different ideas. I think eventually you could, have sort of a menu where you're able to kind of go between various creators. I think you could roll up all that information into an overall kind of dashboard. And then I think like having a bigger table for the hook template tweet structures or whatever that has like the engagement data merged there where I can sort the tweets by key metrics, and then I can quickly identify the best hook template, the best category, things like that, and have the data right there. I think that would be really cool. And then yeah, I think like the final payoff is kind of like how do I take all this information and like get something very useful out of it quickly? So it's like, hey, like rewrite my tweets or repurpose my tweets, and then that's in a table for you, or it's a chat-based ability to say, hey, here's a topic I want to write about. I want to write about marketing for startups, and it needs to be based around AI, and then it knows between all the creators I'm analyzing and collecting data on, how to structure that in my voice, and then it can pump out tons of drafts or potential things to interact with or look at on a calendar. So yeah, like having that calendar view at the end of the day, being able to look between multiple creators and kind of like have a big picture view would be super powerful. And you know, a lot of people, Greg included, a lot of them talk about like the future of SaaS and what does it mean when someone can like spin up a tool with Cursor or something like that as a developer. Well, you think about marketers and we have all these subscriptions and all these tools that we use. There's a bunch of ones for X, for YouTube, stuff like that. But what this type of work enables us to do is to really customize everything for our use case, to iterate on it, to arrive at what we're really trying to get to. So, if you're using a product or whatever that has 10,000 customers or whatnot, like the ability to customize that for your use case is difficult. But now we can basically spin up apps for, use cases that we have the day of and get like an immediate valuable payoff from it that we can then go and implement in our marketing right away. That's the power of all this.
Yeah, I think I really like the calendar view part that you mentioned, right? Like if they can add multiple, like that's something that I would also like love to dig into, just adding multiple creators. Identify the like overall pattern across all of the creators, including categories, including the hooks and stuff like that. Have like a resource library of sorts, like in place, and ideally like build a calendar from there. Like take same AI.
Oh, I think Varu froze here. We'll give her a second. So yeah, having like a calendar view that enables you to, build out like a complete content strategy for like your brand or your product or your value proposition and all that's populated. I could see that being really useful. I could see the AI being able to like score those concepts or something along those lines so that it could predict performance or help you prioritize which ones you should be talking about on X, given the different trends and things of that nature. Um, okay, Varu dropped off there, but she is back now. Hey, we lost you there for a second. I was just kind of riffing on the content calendar piece and just saying that, it'd be cool to be able to like kind of score the different, concepts and rank those so that I can prioritize them, know where to start, know what to do.
Yeah, I think the possibilities are like a lot over here. Gap analysis, calendar, right
Yeah.
tweet, so many things we can do from here.
Cool. So how can people like in our community spin this up for themselves? How can they utilize this? What can we provide them if they want to play around with it or experiment?
Yeah, I there is a workflow document, like a detailed workflow document, like what is the node one, node two, node three, all of that should be. And I'll also share the JSON file of it so that it's very easy. They don't have to like worry too much about the code, but they might have to change here and there because there are variables, variable metric that will be attached to it. But
Okay.
the crux will be pretty much the same. They don't have to like do it from the scratch.
Okay.
JSON file, workflow document, and obviously this the video is definitely going to help them. I think it's going to save a lot of their time, to be honest, because I spent a lot of time because of that loop node, if node, and like before I was using the Google custom search API instead of Apify. So it took
Yep.
a lot of my time. So yeah, I think they're going to save a lot of time.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for walking us through this workflow. I know you've been like working hard on it and all that, and it's coming together really well. I think we should, share this with the community, get their thoughts, get their feedback, and we can keep kind of iterating on this. And yeah, I could see this coming together looking at different creators, different channels, customizing it to your brand, giving you a calendar to work off of that you can share with your team that also includes those big picture perspectives or insights. So yeah, let's keep chipping away and see if we can get there. And I think it'll have a great payoff for people.
For sure. Looking forward to it, James.
Awesome, cool. Thanks, Varu. I'll see you inside Slack.
See you. Bye.